As Gregor Samsa woke one morning from uneasy dreams, he found himself transformed in his bed into a gigantic insect. He was lying on his hearth as it were armor-plated back, and when he lifted his head a little, he could see him stone-like brown belly divided into stiff arched segments on top of which the bed quilt could hardly keep in position and was about to slide off completely. Numerous legs, which were pitifully thin compared to the rest of his bulk, helplessly before his eyes. What happened to me? Thought it was no dream. This room, a regular human bedroom, only rather too small, lay quiet between the four familiar walls. Above the table on which a collection of blood samples was unpacked and spread out, Samsa was a commercial traveler from the picture which he had recently cut out of an illustrated magazine and put into a bright gilt frame. It shows a lady with a fur cap on a fur stool, sitting upright and holding out to the spectator a huge fur mouth, into which the whole of her forearm had vanished. Gregor's eyes turned next to the window and the overcast sky. One could hear raindrops beating on the window gutter. Quite melancholy. What about sleeping a little longer and forgetting all this nonsense? But it could not be done, for he was accustomed to sleep on his right side, and in his present condition he could not turn himself over. However, violently he forced himself toward his right side. He always rolled on back again. He tried it at least 100 times, shutting his eyes to keep from seeing his struggling legs, and only desisted when he began to feel in his side a faint dull edge he had never experienced before. God, he thought, what an exhausting job I picked on, traveling about day out, each more irritating work than doing the actual business in the office. And on top of that, there's the trouble of constant traveling, of worrying about the train connections. The bed and irregular meals, casual acquaintances that are always new and never become intimate friends. The devil take it all. He felt a slight itching up on his belly, slowly pushed himself on his back nearer to the top of the bed so that he could lift his head more easily. Identified the itching place, which was surrounded by many small white spots, the nature of which he could not understand, and made to touch it with a leg, but drew the leg back immediately. Contact made a cold shiver run through. He slid down again to his former position. It's getting up early, he thought. This one quite stupid, and it needs his sleep. Other commercials live like harem women. instance, come back to the hotel of a morning to write up the orders. God, these orders are only sitting down to the breakfast. Just try that with my chief. I'd be sacked on the spot. Now, that might be quite a good thing for me. Who can tell? I didn't have to hold my hand because of my parents. I noticed long ago. I'd have gone to the chief and told him exactly what I think of him. That would knock him endways from his desk. It's a queer way of doing, too, sitting on high at a desk and talking down to employees, especially when they have to come quite near because the chief is hard of hearing. Well, there's still hope once I've saved enough money to pay back my parents' debts to him. That should take another 5 or 6 years. I'll do it without fail. I'll cut myself completely loose then. For the moment, oh, I'd better get up since my train goes at 5. The alarm clock ticking on the chest. Can't believe father thought. It was 6:30, and the hands were quietly moving on. It was even past the half hour. It was getting on toward 7:15. Had the alarm clock not gone off? From the bed one could see that it had been properly set for 4 o'clock. Of course, it must have gone off. Yes, but was it possible to sleep quietly through that ear-splitting noise? Well, he had not slept quietly, yet apparently all the more soundly for that. But what was he to know? The next train went at 7 o'clock. To catch that he would need to hurry like mad, and his samples weren't even packed up. And he himself wasn't feeling thoroughly fresh and active, and even if he did catch the train, he wouldn't avoid the row, the chief, and the for the 5 o'clock train, and would have long ago since reported his father torn up. Brother was a creature of the chief, mindless and stupid. Well, supposing to say he was sick, but what? But that would be the most unpleasant and would look suspicious, since during his 5 years' employment he had not been all ill once. The chief himself was sure to come with his sick insurance, doctor, would reproach his parents with their son's laziness, and would cut all excuses short by referring to the insurance doctor. Of course, are regarded of all mankind as perfectly healthy, but he be so far wrong on this occasion. Gregor really felt quite well, apart from a drowsiness that was utterly superfluous after such a long sleep. Been unusually hungry. All this was running through his mind at top speed without his being able to decide to leave his just struck 7:15. There came a very cautious tap at the door behind the head of his bed. "Gregor," said a voice. It was his mother's. "It's 7:15. Hadn't you a train to catch?" Hadn't you a train to catch? That gentle voice, not mine, of course. Gregor had a shock as he heard his own voice answering hers. Unmistakably his own voice. It was true, but with a persistent, horrible, twittering squeak behind it, like an undertone, which left the words in their clear shape only for the first moment, and they rose up, reverberating around them to destroy their sense, so that one could not be sure one had heard them rightly. Wanted to answer at length and explain everything, but in the circumstances he confined himself to saying yes, yes, thank you, mother, I'm getting up now. The wooden door between them must have kept the change in his voice from being noticeable outside, for his mother contented herself with his statement and shuffled away. Yes, this brief exchange of words had made the other members of the family aware still in the house, as they had not expected. At one of the side doors, his father was already knocking, gently, yet with his "Gregor, Gregor," called. "What's the matter with you?" And after a little while he called again in a deeper voice, "Gregor, Gregor," at the other side door. His sister was saying in a low, plaintive tone, "Gregor, aren't you well? Are you needing anything?" Answered them both at once, "I'm just ready," and did his best to make his voice sound as normal as possible by enunciating the words very clearly and leaving long pauses between them. So his father went back to his breakfast, but his sister whispered, "Gregor, open the door, do." However, he was not thinking of opening the door, and felt thankful for the prudent habit he had acquired in travelling of locking all doors during the night, even at home.